What's up, Markel here, and today I want to talk about mindset. I think it is so powerful in changing our realities. So basically, I want to approach this conversation as, hey, this is traditionally or what we typically do or what I've typically done, and challenge that and say maybe there's a different way of going about it, kind of changing our approach or changing the lens in our approach. The first thing, don't say sorry. Hear me out with this one because this definitely requires some context. That doesn't mean if you do something wrong, don't apologize for it. What I mean here is within a professional context, there's a time to be apologetic and a time where you just didn't know or you don't have to express that you're sorry. For example, I actually got this concept from a former coworker. It was really cool. So this example is directly from him. He said he works in finance. And as a financial analyst within the team, he had to create projections on how he anticipated things being. Oftentimes, he would find out that those estimates weren't exactly right. That makes sense. You can't predict the future. So what would happen is he would relay that information or the models to his management or cross-functional teams, and they would say, hey, this isn't fully accurate from what we've now seen today. And he could, in that scenario, say, oh, I'm sorry. I'll do better. But if he says sorry, the idea here is that you're calling out or drawing attention to something that really wasn't a problem. I tend to apologize when it's definitely not a situation to be apologetic for. It's more of a let me just acknowledge where I am, understand that it could have been better, and just move forward. As an engineer or as a business analyst, you are going to make mistakes. And if you apologize for every mistake, that's now drawing unnecessary attention onto the mistakes. Not only that, I think that when we say sorry in excess, it can almost position ourselves as being the one at fault or having an issue. And that's not necessarily true. In my experience, I've definitely said sorry or apologized in situations that weren't necessarily needed or warranted. But by drawing all of that attention, I definitely felt worse after the situation. So if that's you, my challenge is don't apologize within this context. If you make a mistake, that's okay. You can acknowledge the mistake mentally, or you can even say, hey, the information that I had at the time suggested this. This was the best that I could create or generate. I'll do better moving forward. Instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. So essentially, we just have to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to saying sorry, especially within this work context. It's not that you did anything wrong. Maybe you did, but it's a matter of how you place blame or you place fault. I would challenge you, the shift of mindset here being, don't think about what you did wrong. Think about how you can do better moving forward. The second thing I want to talk about is this idea of focusing on being right or wrong. So similar to the previous situation where you're apologizing for being wrong, the idea here is you're associating your value with either being right or being wrong. The problem there is you're tying yourself too much into whatever you're working on. And I've definitely talked about this before, and I talked to a lot of people about this idea. It's the whole notion of don't attach your self-worth or your identity to your products or your projects or the outputs or any metrics that may seem like they define you, like your GPA. Easier said than done, I understand. What you can do instead is try to think of things more objectively and try to think of things as a holistic, how can I ensure that I am adding value and that the end result is the best that it can possibly be? So with that change of mindset, it's not a matter of being right or wrong, because yeah, if you're right, it feels good. And yeah, if you're wrong, it feels bad. But with this other model, it's more of, I want to get the best thing done. Did it get done? Awesome. It doesn't matter who did it. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. Ultimately, you just want something to be successful. And if it has your name on it, cool. If it doesn't, that's all right, right? In my experience, I think that one thing I have done a good job on is not really trying to be right pretty much ever. I just try to find the right answer. It's probably because of the imposter syndrome, which it's probably an entirely other conversation. I'm not really ever fully sure of what the answer is or what I should be doing. So I'm always receptive to taking in feedback or criticism. And that's really helpful, especially in the engineering context, because you want additional eyes, you want additional inputs. And by approaching it that way, I've had pretty good success where I am often wrong and often things break. And ultimately, I create something or contribute to something that works. And that's the ultimate goal in the first place. The next thing is asking bad questions or fearing that a question is stupid or being self-conscious about a question. The shift in mindset here is seeking understanding, clarity, or knowledge. I think the smartest or the best or the sharpest people are the ones that ask the most or the most thought-provoking questions. Because even if you don't understand something, the way you inquire about it actually shows some level of competence. If you say, hey, I don't fully understand this space, can you elaborate? It challenges the person to be able to express that thought, but it also empowers you to obtain that information. I mean, the easiest example that I'm pretty sure I've talked about before is asking a question in class. I think we all kind of had this fear of asking a stupid question in class, but oftentimes someone else has that question. And then within the work environment, same thing. I've been in meetings, I've been in situations where everyone has that question and we kind of look at each other, but no one asks the question because no one wants to look like the person who doesn't know it. Again, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about, hey, I want to gain understanding. Let me ask this question. Another thing about asking questions that I think is really cool and really, really valuable is in challenging people. Like I said a moment ago, when you ask a person a question and you try to understand it better, you could just be challenging their knowledge and maybe they don't even know. And it's not to try to play anybody in the situation, but oftentimes you'll find that people are just as lost or may have the same lack of knowledge as you. And so I think of asking questions as a huge value add because it encourages more conversation and then it challenges another person. Like even if that person did understand something about a subject, you inquiring can help better solidify their understanding, which in turn helps them too. So ultimately you're both elevated from you asking the question. So why not ask? The shift in mindset here, I would say, is definitely reducing assumptions, reducing the stigma behind asking questions. It's not a bad thing. It never is a bad thing. And if it's for clarity, it's for understanding, if it's to challenge someone, I think it's all worthwhile. And the last thing I want to talk about is this idea of withholding information. And specifically in the context of objectives, goals, and I guess output. If you withhold information in certain contexts, you can actually be hurting more than helping. So in the context of a student trying to develop within school, but they don't tell any professors, they don't tell any counselors, they don't tell anyone what their goal is, or they don't articulate it well, then that actually limits them. By telling someone, hey, I'm trying to get here, that actually helps them and it helps you. So for example, I was talking to my manager a few months ago and I said, hey, I'm actually trying to develop this type of hardware down the line. And he's like, that's not on the team. And I was like, yeah. But he was like, that's great because now I know how to help you. I now know how to challenge you. And now I know how to help develop you in this space so that when you do have that opportunity, you'll be more prepared for it. So that's good management there. But I think it's also a testament to being able to say, hey, I'm trying to get here. Will you be a part of that journey and help me get there? More often than not, I hope, people are going to be willing and able to help. And I think that it goes back to the idea of being able to look for help too. It's really hard to get help, really, really hard to get help when you don't know where you're going. And so if you tell someone, hey, I need help, if you don't have a destination, how can they provide a vehicle? So even if they gave you that vehicle to be able to move, where are you going? I think it's really, really vital to be able to articulate, be able to express and share what your goal is or where you're trying to get to. Because it's then and only then that someone can help. So the mindset shift here would be try to be a little bit vulnerable and be more transparent. It can actually help you more than you think. By sharing information about your objectives, your goals, and not withholding certain details, you can actually empower yourself and help others to contribute to wherever you're trying to get to. All right, so I know this was a little bit different from a typical video, but I really want to help within this platform, within this channel, to challenge mindset, and what that will do is challenge how we go about our actions. So if you found this valuable, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you have any other, I guess, ways in which mindset shifts, like a small degree change of a mindset has been able to help you on your journey, and you want to help someone on theirs, throw that in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this, check out my previous videos. Feel free to subscribe and stay in tune for more. Have a good day.